Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. We've got a good crop of malicious compliance stories, so let's jump right into our first one of the day by SebastianSilver, maliciously complying with a no phone rule in science class. My junior year of high school, 2016 to 2017, I had to take a biology class. It was generally a freshman or sophomore class, but as I had been jumping between high schools, I still needed the biology credit. As such, I was the only junior in the class. My science teacher was a very rude person. Not in a I hate you kind of way, but in an I'm better than all of you and I can do no wrong kind of way. He made it a habit to hand out detentions like candy, to the point where the school had to ask him to stop giving people detention. Obviously, none of us like him and made it our sole purpose to annoy the crap out of him. And thus, the entire year was full of malicious compliance from all of us, like not coming back to class when he sent us out of the room. As the teacher added more rules, it became easier to find ways to annoy him. When he added a rule about leaving backpacks in the front of the room with phones in them, I was already having a bad day and decided to have some fun. We were watching some video about turtles and I was using my phone. When he caught me, he told me to put it in my backpack, so I did. About 10 minutes later, I decided to make it look like I was on my phone by putting my hands under my desk and looking in my lap. Anytime he yelled at me, the other students would yell back saying, "He's not even on his phone, why are you yelling at him?" I did this several times throughout the class and he moved me 3 separate times to try and watch me better and catch me on my phone, which wasn't with me. I finally ended up at the front of the room in front of the projector playing the turtle movie, facing the rest of the class in a chair with no desk so he could see my hands. This made it so no one could watch the movie, which means we couldn't take the test on it. 3 weeks later, the teacher proudly told our whole class he wouldn't have to deal with kids like you anymore because he was switching to a middle school the next year. I guess he was wrong because the next year he got fired from the middle school as none of his students were on track with any other school in the district. Let me ask you guys a question. When you were in school, or if you're still in school, were you rebellious enough to actually do these things that would annoy the teacher? I ask because I was kind of a really good kid in school. I was always afraid of being rebellious and doing all this dumb stuff in class. I was very antisocial, so I didn't want to draw any attention to me. So would you have been the kind of kid that held your hands together in your lap and looked down to annoy the teacher to make them think you're on your phone or something like that? Or never even coming back to class when they send you out? Let me know yes or no in the comments down below. The next story is by mylifeasblue. Fine, then I won't stay inside your house. So this happened yesterday to my grandma's youngest brother and his wife. They had an argument about a lot of issues that I won't get into, and ultimately the argument escalated to a full-blown verbal fight. It is because of the husband's dismissive attitude and anger issues. The husband is a POS and he said that if the wife can't respect his wishes, then she can't stay inside his house. The wife is pissed off and packs a suitcase and leaves the house at around 9:30 p.m. at night. He assumes that she will come back by 10 and doesn't even try to stop her. He waits till 11 p.m. and she isn't back, and also she is not answering any calls or replying to texts. His 20-year-old daughter starts crying and made a huge scene in the house. He sets off to go and search for her. It's important to note that this is a small rural town where everyone knows each other. The husband has an old car with no silencer and a few people in the nearby houses wake up. He explains what happened to them and then everyone starts searching for her. It's 1 a.m. in the morning and she has still not been found. The police station in town is at least 4 hours away, so they have to go in the morning. Also, it had gone in lockdown. The husband is extremely worried and everyone was angry with him for being so unkind to his wife and not stopping her. Someone then suggested one last search in their estate that they have just in case they find at least some clue. This time they even checked the terrace of the tiny building where the solar panel was placed, which had been deemed unnecessary before. The terrace was surprisingly unlocked when they went in and they found her. She had made a small pillow of her clothes and was sleeping with her head on the suitcase. She was woken up and it was found out that she had switched off her phone. The wife knew that it wasn't safe to go out at night, but she didn't want to go back to her house, so this was the place she chose to stay in. The best part is that the daughter already knew. She denies it but confided in grandma. And she did the extra theatrics to scare her dad. Everyone still took the wife's side, and some people of the village even threatened the husband. In conclusion, the husband is really scared of the wife and will definitely keep his anger in check in the future. I'm not sure what country this took place in, but it's actually kind of nice to hear about all the neighbors kind of coming together trying to find this lady, because if this was in America and it was explained that you got angry at your wife and she left, I doubt many of your neighbors would end up trying to help you look for her. The next story is by cfbethel, Throw Me a Biscuit. So this story involves my great-grandfather, Luke. Luke was a farmer from a small Missouri town. When he was a young man, he met Mary, the woman who would eventually become his wife and my great-grandmother. Before they were wed, when he was doing his wooing, direct quote he said to my dad and his brothers, he was invited over to Mary's house for dinner and so he could meet her parents. Mary's father isn't really involved in the story from what I understand, so I won't give him a name, but her mother, Elle, very much is. During the dinner, as Luke, Mary, and Elle made small talk and ate, Luke decided he wanted a biscuit. They had been placed directly next to Elle, so Luke decided to ask his future mother-in-law for one. But instead of politely asking her for one, Luke decides to show his sense of humor and says this, "Throw me a bicket, Elle." Yes, he said bicket, however that's spelled. I don't remember the exact reaction of everyone at the table, but I'm sure Mary was quite mortified. Elle, on the other hand, didn't miss a beat. Luke wanted her to throw him a bicket, so she did. She picked up a biscuit and threw it directly at him. Luke and Mary were wed not long after, and Luke never spoke to his mother-in-law like that again. Hopefully there was a good sense of humor attached to that biscuit that was hurled at Luke, and not like bad manners, like they threw it really angrily and they were going to always spite you. I'm getting the sense that it was a good-humored relationship, I sure hope so. Our next story is by EclipsaLuna. Here's my work for the rest of the year. Not me, but my husband. Let me preface by saying that he's very smart, but has never been the type to go the extra mile as it concerns academics. Apparently, when he was in high school, he had a science teacher that he considered a joke. In general, he got along very well with his teachers, but he did not like or have much respect for this teacher. Don't remember why. Regardless, the teacher wasn't exactly a dynamic instructor. Her lessons generally consisted of regurgitating the textbook via PowerPoint and then asking the students to answer the questions at the end of the section and turn them in the next day. My husband never paid attention. He'd read or do the work for another class. He always turned his assignments in on time though and had an A in the class. One day, the teacher called him out for his behavior, stating that he needed to pay attention and do the work for her class if he was in there. The next day, he dropped a massive stack of papers on her desk. He'd answered every single question in the entire book, essentially doing all this work for the rest of the year. All he said was, "Will you leave me alone now?" and returned to his desk with a book. She stared at him with her mouth open and never said another word to him again. Side note, I taught high school for 3 years. If a student had done this to me, my blood would have boiled. And thankfully, my husband learned to have a little more tact as he got older. What I'm wondering is, did the teacher honor the work? I guess if she never spoke to him again, she must have, right? That would actually be pretty nice, you grind out the textbook in a day or two, drop it all out, and you're done for the year. Easy. Our next story is by FirewitchDianthus. Okay then, if you know what way to go, then go. When I was in high school, I got to go to France. It was a wonderful trip. We got to see castles, visit a winery, sadly could not drink any, and visit a bunch of cool cities. This trip we went with Mrs. French. Mrs. French had a horrible sense of direction. She got our group lost at least 3 times, if not more. Twice on the trip, she had gotten the group lost and I was able to get us back where we needed to be. Sometimes it was literally just going north on a street rather than south, or the place we needed to be was around the block. Now, I take after my dad, so if I know the general direction or, heaven forbid, remember freaking landmarks or have a map, I am set. I am also stubborn as all get out if someone keeps sending me the wrong way and I know it's the wrong way. This is important. Picture this. Frazzled lost teacher gets us lost in the Louvre, so she had to ask for directions like 4 times. I piped up if we went up a level and to the right, we would end up back in the atrium. Did she listen? Yes, but then she made a mistake. Mrs. French, if we go up these stairs and go right, we will be back in the main lobby area. Mrs. French replied with a sentence no teacher should say. Okay then, if you know what way to go, then just go. She did not have to tell me twice. I think part of the reason she did not like my option was that there were more stairs. The Louvre is massive and there's a lot of walking involved. So off I went. I walked through the sculpture wing and then headed to the gift shop. I realized it was not nice to just drop back and just leave the group, but at that point I was pretty annoyed. As a soon-to-be parent, if my 16-year-old daughter left the group in a foreign country and knew as little of the language as I did, I would lose my ever-loving mind. I was later found by another girl in the group and had people assigned to me. But the next time she got us lost and I said where we should go, I did not get any arguments. She never did forgive me for that, and sadly, even my younger siblings had to deal with this woman giving them crap in school. Oh well, I was still right, you old bat. See, here's the deal. If a student has a very good sense of direction and generally knows which way to go and can give constructive direction, it should be valued, it should be considered. That's just a bad teacher, or a bad chaperone, or whatever you want to call it. This next story is written by JoeyJoeJoeJrShab. Okay, we'll interview him. I'm a software developer. A coworker of mine started out as a contractor. When his contract was over, we decided to hire him on as a full-time employee. He wanted to stay and we knew he does great work. Hiring him was a no-brainer. Except HR absolutely insisted that we cannot possibly commit to hiring someone until he's been through the interview process. So we interviewed him at a restaurant, with the meal being paid with the boss's corporate credit card. The interview went something like this. Interviewer said, "So what do you think of Java as a programming language?" Interviewee said, "It's not bad." Interviewer said, "Cool, you're hired." It's kind of twofold because there is a process and it's always good to try and follow the process, but sometimes there are rare situations that feel like they could very easily just go around whatever normal process there is. I'd say, hey, if you ever have a situation like this again, you know you can enjoy a free good meal. And our final story of the day is by Gryffindorphins, a wonderful window display. I used to work at a family-run art and craft store in Australia. We were a new store in a different state to the first ones and a bit more isolated from management. Our area manager would visit once or twice a year. When I first started, we were told to make window displays using products so people that can see what we sell, then incorporate projects we've made using those products. The windows were huge, 4 meters across and up to the shopping center ceiling, 2 on either side of the door. They had white backing and you could just squeeze a ladder through the side door to reach the poster hangers at the top. We would be given $200 to buy products and told to make things in our spare time. Illegal, but we were keen to try some of the stuff. Then the amount on the voucher started to decrease every month. Eventually, we had to just fill the windows with pre-made art pieces despite new products coming in all the time. We, and most other stores, kept calling head office to get a proper window display budget again, until one bright spark at head office decided they had a plan. They were going to make all the window displays across all stores in Australia the same, even though they are different sizes, and they're going to tie it in with some new project how-to sheets for customers. That Easter, one of our busiest times of the year, we got a box marked window display supplies. It included 2 A3 posters, a handful of colored feathers, 2 googly eyes, and a small piece of orange paper and a styrofoam egg about the size of a fist. We were to create an Easter chicken using these supplies for a window display for 2 massive windows. So we did. It was the emptiest display we had ever had. Customers were asking if we were closing down. We sent a photo of both of our windows to head office. They gave us a voucher again the following month. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a bad idea to standardize what advertising materials go in all of the stores and try to reduce the budget where you can, but if it's not standard sizing, it does need some level of custom work, and obviously this wasn't very well thought out. I feel bad for the staff and the managers and whoever worked at the store with the big windows, because that would be kind of embarrassing to have Easter, one of the busiest times of the year, and the place looks like it's getting foreclosed on or something, like it's getting shut down, like you're stripping down the decoration to the bare minimum. You're like, oh man, this store is going the way of the dodo. But thankfully, in the end, they did get that voucher back, and hopefully their displays will be a little bit nicer and a little bit more alluring to customers in the future. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today, so if you enjoyed the stories today, please consider giving the video a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. And if you had a favorite story of the day, let me know which one and why in the comments down below. But no matter what you did, whether it was liking, commenting, subscribing, whatever you did, thank you all so very much for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, I'll be back tomorrow with more Reddit stories right here on the Storytime channel.